friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 147. You know, you would think I could review this, the basic facts of this video before I turn on the camera, but I always forget to do that. I do know that today is Friday, March 7th, because it's our friend Katie's birthday. She does not watch the video, but I will still say happy birthday, Katie. And I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Flosstube is about cross-stitch and Variety Show is about something else, and it's a little bit of an odd twist on Variety Show today. But let's start with cross-stitch. So as you know, I am participating in I'm kind of leading the Hannah Green Stitch Along, but I'm not going to show you that today because I did work on it a couple days since last video, but I didn't accomplish very much, and I have other things. I've had other things going on, other things to talk about. But I am also doing this Martha Miller 1858 sampler, and this is currently, I think, still a limited release to the Queen City Sampler Guild. The designer Sylvia Stecker did a Running with Needles and Scissors is the company. It's her company. She did a presentation of it and made it available to the Queen City Sampler Guild last fall. And I think it's going to be limited to us for about a year, but sometime in the next few months this will be available. Quite interesting, very interesting colors, pretty bright colors for the most part. And I had started it with the group in January and knowing that I wasn't going to keep up with the stitch along, which was a 9-month stitch along, but I did do a little more. The most interesting colors are not up in this corner, although this bright pink is quite nice, isn't it? But there's purples and a red, and this green is kind of bright. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, kind of interesting. I've said that 10 times. I like it. I have no intention of finishing it in the 9 months that the guild is going to, because I have other things, other fish to fry. But I intend to still finish it. This is, by the way, 16 count Aida Fox and Rabbit's Hogbristle, which is one of their really excellent warmish sampler colors. I like that. I also have a piece of 56 count Hogbristle, fat quarter of it, because I thought I would give that a try 56 count, which, I don't know. Here's one you have not seen. I possibly have not worked on this year. Hannah Campbell 1838. I just love this sampler. I think I like it because I like the border. I like that big diamond-shaped cartouche in the middle, the over one letters in the middle. I like that, and I like the verse. Sweet courtesy and winning smiles, manners mild and void of art. These are love's engaging wiles. These are those which win the heart. I think it's quite charming. So I'm working on that. At one point, I thought I was finishing it last year. I think in my tentative list, I thought I'd finish it this year, but I'm not in any rush. But since you haven't seen it at all this year, I'll just show it in full, what I've done so far. There is quite a bit of over one. This big alphabet, I call it the big Scottish alphabet, which she's Irish, so that isn't probably fair, but maybe we'll call it a Celtic alphabet. Here in the middle, I've been working on those letters. Here, this is an over one bird. It's a mirror image of this over one bird. I'll just say it's a pain to stitch. But I did finish out this part of the border. I had the red stitches in. I hadn't done the green. And there's one more zig and zag here to make it equivalent to what's over here. And then I did this. What is this? Chrysanthemum? Chandelabra? candelabra. What do you call those? Chandelier. That's what I'm trying for. I started on that. Anyway, I do enjoy stitching this. This I'm doing in the called for Auvert Soie, Soie d'Alger silks, except the over one I'm using Soie 103, Auvert Soie 103, and this is 36 count ballet slippers by Fox and Rabbit, which I wish I had another piece of this. I really like it. It's brownish. It's not coming out as pink in the video as it actually is, but it has the slightest pink cast to it, which I really like. And, you know, the whole sampler, this is about the halfway mark vertically where I am. Just below that is about the halfway mark, so you can see how big it's going to be. I didn't cut off the bottom of the fabric because fabric that drapes down doesn't really bother me while I'm stitching. It's side-to-side fabric that gets in the way, which I'll have something to say about that in a few minutes. I am determined to finish this on under the roof of blue Ionian weather, and the charting company is Golden Kite. This is full coverage. And this is, represents, or I'm showing you another 1,000 stitches from the last time I showed it. And I've been trying to get into these people here because there's a lot of confetti in there. I mean, there's a lot of confetti everywhere, but especially in their faces and in this area down here, there's a lot of confetti. And so I got the beginning of the dark colored robe of one of the people in there. So it's still gridded over in this side, and I realize most of this gridding I could take out, but I still have a few random individual stitches up in here. So I haven't wanted to take the gridding out because it is hard to count when the colors are so similar to each other that it's hard to know that this is that symbol, this exact stitch is that symbol, and this one is the next symbol. That's almost impossible for me. So that's one reason that I've gridded this. And I gridded it using the 4-pound weight red fishing line, which it's very doable. I don't enjoy working with it, but it does the job. So I got this feeling last night when I was working on this. I have about 16,000 stitches to go out of 72,000. And I got the feeling last night, I was thinking about stitching Jane Boyer 1834 2 years ago, last year. And I stitched maybe 18,000-ish stitches. It's hard to know. My program doesn't count the over one part properly because I was using Pattern Keeper. So around 18,000 stitches, and I stitched that in just under 3 months. So 16,000 stitches, I should be able to easily finish it this year. And I just had this mental image. If I just buckled down, I could finish it before the end of July. This is harder stitching than a sampler by far because of the confetti and because it's full coverage. But it's not, it wouldn't be impossible, but I think reality tells me that it wouldn't be impossible, but it would be unpleasant. And I don't cross stitch for production. Normally I cross stitch because it's pleasant. And then the other thing that I did is I actually started, now I'm not shielding anybody from spoiler possibilities anymore on the All Things Bright and Beautiful red box, because Nicola said to please keep it quiet until after the 1st of March. And she also posted a spoiler video a couple weeks ago. And many floss tubers have shown all or part of the box. And so I don't feel that I now have to shield you, but I will tell you that the rest of my cross-stitch talk, before I get to the odd thing I'm going to talk about, is going to be about 2 pieces from that box. So, I don't know. This is Bertram Savile Ogle, a little boy. It's a small sampler, especially when you do it on 46 count, but he grew up to be somebody important. But when he was I assume a little boy, a young boy, he stitched this little piece. And I really love it. I love the border of it. I love all those interesting things he chose to put in there. He really filled it up. And I decided to start it. So this is my start. Clearly not much, just up in the corner. I'm using the called for 103s. There are 9 colors. And this is 46 count Latte. I got this a couple years ago. And where I got it, they didn't put the manufacturer because I guess they assumed everybody knows who does Latte. And I don't know who does Latte, so maybe you know and you can tell me in a comment. But this is my start. It's about 5.5 inches square, this little sampler. It's not exactly square, but it's close. And so this is a 6-inch hoop, so you see it's going to go just beyond. Going to go to about over there. And I decided, I'm sorry I didn't take it out of the hoop because I'm going to keep stitching on it, and it's nice and taut in there right now. So that is the first thing from the All Things Bright and Beautiful box that I wanted to show you. And then the second one I want to talk about a bit, and I'll show it to you in a minute. When Nicola first announced the box, she said, one of the things she said about it was she was really excited because there was quite unusual sampler that was landscape oriented, a wide sampler that was in this collection. And she was really excited about us having that sampler. And so I was excited about that too, because as you may recall, I have a spot in my living room. And if I can find the picture, I'll show you a picture. I could take another picture, I suppose, that I have sort of set aside to put a cross-stitch piece on the wall up there. But in order for it to go there, it would have to be either, say, 3 individual pieces or a wide piece, but really wide, quite a lot of wide. And I think I have my notebook around here somewhere that maybe it's in my backpack. Hold on. Just a notebook. Yeah, it doesn't, I didn't put the dimensions in that notebook yet, but anyway, that I thought to myself, perhaps I should design my own. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that back in 2021, maybe, or 2022, I think it might have been 2022, I stitched a band sampler, a vertical band sampler for my friend Anne. It was a commissioned piece. She wanted it to be purple. She wanted it to be no more than a certain dimension, wide, but she was willing for it to be my choice how long. And so I stitched something for her, and I made it up as I went along, sort of. I kind of plotted out some big sections, and I possibly can find a picture of it to stick in here. I plotted out some big sections. I knew some certain things I wanted to put in it that represented our friendship or her life, and that were typical sampler elements, band samplers, dividing band kind of stitching. And so I sort of made it up. I improvised it going along with semi-plan, semi-improvised. And it was very fun to work on. And I think you all found it interesting to see what was going to happen next in that sampler. So my thought had originally been that I was going to make one up. I was going to do an improvised sampler in a horizontal dimension orientation for myself that would have things in it that mattered to me, and put it in that spot in my living room. But when Nicholas said, oh, there's this really impressive horizontal-oriented sampler in this collection, I thought, well, maybe I'll just do that and it'll be easier. And so this is the sampler. 1937, Henriette de Soldat, and the name that Nicola has given it is Luck Smiles at Courage, because that's the main sentence right in here, Luck Smiles at Courage. And it is, 1937 is later than typical sampler, marking samplers and that kind of thing. And it has a lot of repeated elements. Over here we have crowns. Over here we have eagles. And then all of this work down here, which is called, I can't remember what it's called. There's a certain kind of stitching it's called. But anyway, the idea is she'd stitched the back stitch picture elements and then cross-stitched the background around them. And in the All Things Bright and Beautiful box is a tea towel of this sampler. And I folded this because this is what the sampler looks like. Sorry, you can sort of see through this, even though it's a really thick fabric. Yeah, well. And it is a magnificent sampler. It really is very interesting. Interesting alphabets, interesting motifs. All of those eagles and crowns would be a little boring, but this stuff down at the bottom, very, very interesting. But it is not what I had in mind for my living room. And it isn't actually big enough, believe it or not, even though it's huge. So if you were to do it on 36 count, which is what I was planning to do, this, whatever I put up there, the design would be 25 by 10. And I really need something more like 35 or 40 inches by 10 or 12 is what I need for that spot. But this is amazing. I'm not going to do it. Well, I shouldn't say that so categorically, because I will tell you that it does cross my mind every now and then, Emily, you should do that. But I just don't think life is long enough. So that, having seen that and sort of made the decision that that is not what I'm going to put in that spot, has made me rekindle my thinking about creating my own sampler. And there have been several ways that I've thought of doing it. One is to get a great big wide piece of fabric and stitch a sampler, improvise on it from left to right. I would have to do some sort of blocking out in my mind on a piece of paper, maybe even doing some running stitch demarcations of the sections of it in order to keep it balanced over that much space. And also, it would be a multi-year project, I think, because the way I worked on Anne's was I would, make some plans, I would work on it for a while, and then I would be at a point where I had to make some decisions, and I had to be in the right frame of mind and let things percolate in my mind long enough in order to make a decision. And then I would move on for, go at a good pace for a while, and then I'd have to pause and let it rest for a while and let my mind work on what to do next. And that would certainly be true of something like this that is larger, and the beauty of a band sampler that's vertically oriented is you do a band and a band and a band, and you know exactly how wide it's going to be because this is your width that you've already laid out. But in a great big piece of fabric like this, it's less clear what the dimensions are, where the boundaries are going to be. And even if I were to block out, say, well, you know, these 12 inches are for this, and this 16 inches is for this, and whatever, it still wouldn't necessarily be exactly that. I would run over, or I would allow myself the freedom to do whatever, you know, go back and forth. So that's one possible way, is to have one big wide piece of fabric and work on it. Another way to do it would be to get some 36 count fabric, cut it into pieces, and make multiple sections that would be sewn together when they're finished. There's many examples of this in published cross-stitch charts now. There's a few Blackbird ones that are quite notable that come to mind immediately, and I think there are probably some others. So that's a way to do it. It wouldn't even have to be all the same fabric as long as it was the same. Well, it would be nice if it were the same count. The thing about fabric is if you use, oh, sorry, my knee just did something. If you use these hand-dyed fabrics, which are so popular and which I have some beautiful examples of, from one dyer to the next and from one dye to the next, they react differently, and so they're not always exactly the same count, even though they might have started out as the, you know, as Weigart 36 count, presumably from one roll to the next is the same. But anyway, so in this notebook, I have started, this is a little gridded notebook, and I have started writing down things that I think I might want to put in my own sampler. So a few things are ideas, is I want some traditional sampler elements. I want, you know, the chrysanthemums, the vase of flowers, the birds and ships and keys and that sort of thing. Just sort of randomly selected traditional sampler elements. I want some things that are symbolic of my life. So for instance, I'm a music major. I was a music major. I say I was a music major in high school, college, and graduate school. And so I would want some musical notes and maybe music staff and some actual tune. Maybe my instruments, my main instruments, which were bassoon, piano, and violin. Perhaps those need to be in my sampler. So I'm a Christian, so I want things that are symbolic and indicative of my faith, that will tell the future generations what my beliefs were, that I believe these things. And there are some particular verses from hymns that I have in mind. The Be Thou My Vision is a favorite hymn. There are a couple of verses from that I might put in this sampler. The Apple Tree Carol is a traditional carol, which is beautiful carol. It's called a carol, but it's not a Christmas carol. It's a religious poem. I don't know what the exact definition of carol is, but you can have carols for seasons other than Christmas, and it is not specifically Christmas. Perhaps to depict the houses that I have lived in, which there are four main ones, five, I guess, if you count. Yeah, five main houses. Well, I've written down four. I guess four main houses that I've lived in, which I could get a photograph of the house and chart it. You know, make something that would be not exactly what it is, but reminiscent of it. Enough like it that it would be recognizable. I have had some significant pets. I have had my dog Chester when I was in high school, my cat Bunter when after Byron and I were married. He lived to be 19. As I say, he outlived his welcome by about 2 years, but was a wonderful cat. My horse, Bayberry. So those are some ideas of things should be in there. My camping, interest in camping, places that we've been camping, Pog Lake especially, Lake of Two Rivers. The total solar eclipses that I have seen, 2 of them. I would like to see another one in my lifetime. Family names and dates, the Tar Heel symbol for the Carolina Tar Heels, which Duke and Carolina play tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Maybe a scripture passage. There's the Book of Common Prayer, which is the Episcopal prayer book. I grew up as an Episcopalian, and the prayer book definitely shaped my faith. It's an excellent resource and excellent picture of who God is. The Book of Common Prayer, 1928 in particular, was the one that was in use when I was growing up. So that's the one that I'm more familiar with. So anyway, those are some things. And of course, beautiful borders and, as I said, random motifs, cartouches, and family, did I say family dates and initials and names, perhaps? So those are things that I have in mind that I would put in a sampler that I was going to make for myself, to represent myself, to put on that wall. And I have enough ideas that it will take a lot of space. So I'm not too worried about filling the space. And of course, alphabets, because I like stitching alphabets. And I think alphabets are an interesting and important part of something that is a sampler, that we could call a sampler. So those are just some ideas. I don't think I'm going to be beginning to actually stitch on that this calendar year, but I might try to think of doing it next year, starting it next year sometime. Mainly because I have several things that have deadlines this year, actual deadlines related to some events coming up. And I also have other projects I'm doing that I want to keep doing. So anyway, that's a preview of a very distant coming attraction, but it's something that's on my mind. And as I stitch what I'm working on day by day, I'm thinking about that. So I wanted to talk to you about this strange little topic. And I'm just going to lean over for a moment and bring this chair closer to me where I have something stacked up. So the strange topic is games that I don't like. And some of my friends will be surprised that there are any games I don't like, because I seem to always be interested in playing a game. But there are actually some games that I have played, and some of them I've played a lot, that I have decided now I don't like. And I'm not going to belabor these, but Point Salad. It's a game of collecting sets. It is a quick game. You can play it with 2 to 6 players. As you collect sets, you get bonuses for having more cards, but it's kind of boring. I don't think I'll ever play it or be able to talk anyone into playing it. Now this is a game, one of my favorite game creators or designers is Rainer Knizia. I don't know how to say his name. Knizia. This is called Ingenious, and it's a pattern. You lay down your pieces in order to try to score the most points based on certain criteria, and I don't like it. There's 2 reasons I don't like it. One is because I don't really love spatial games. I don't do very well at them. And the other is I don't like the pieces. They're cardboard. They just seem, I don't know. I don't like it. So I was going to pull it out and show it to you, but it's all in a bag. So this game, probably going to give that away or sell it or something. Now this is a game that actually I should like. And when we played it a lot, I played it a lot with our friends Matt and Maddie Sue. We played it and we liked it. And that is this game called Power Grid. Now, when I say we liked it, I mean that we played it, and Maddie Sue always won. So we must have liked it for social reasons, because we were not playing it apparently to win. But the goal is you're building power plants in different cities, and you need to use resources to power them, to get the power to them. And it's a resource management game, which I like resource management games. The games I talked about in my last video were, though, that type of game. But this game, it takes a long time, and if somebody gets ahead, as Maddie Sue always managed to, then it's very hard to catch up. So in some ways, it has great ideas, but it's not fun. And this is, there was an expansion. So I bought the expansion pack. I don't even think we ever played with it. I mean, I have opened it, but I don't think we ever played with it. So that's a game that I probably can't picture myself ever playing. I can't picture myself being interested enough in trying to talk somebody into playing it. And it, as I said, did I mention it takes quite a while? So here's another game. This is really, I mean, it got a lot of good reviews. This is Agricola. And it is you're building a village, basically. You're deploying your workers to be able to do things. And there are a lot of games that have that basic mechanic. And then you build certain improvements that let you do more. That is, if you have a certain kind of oven, then you can bake more bread, which lets you sell more loaves of bread and get more resources to do whatever. But it's very, very complicated game, very complicated. And the number of things you can build is just so numerous that it's hard to even have a grasp of how to go about getting the game started. It's nice components, as I recall. I mean, it's been even a while since I've opened the box, but I just can't picture ever getting anybody to play that game. It has a lot of good reviews. So that's a game that, if you like the game, you'll be happy to have the copy if you have a gaming group that will play it with you. And now this is going to be my least popular opinion that I'm going to express. All of the games that I've just talked about, nobody in my family will be sorry to see me get rid of them, because nobody loves them. Code names. I don't like this game. Now, it's interesting. I haven't played it since I've been playing the game Connections on the New York Times game site. And maybe now that I've been playing Connections, I will like this game better. But the idea of this game is you lay down a grid of 25 cards that have words on them. Here's what the back of the box looks like. And you are trying to get your teammates to select the words that you are looking at in order to figure out who the criminal is and who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And there's also innocent bystanders. So the red team has detectives, which are red. The blue team has blue detectives. And the gray cards are innocent bystanders. And there's a criminal, I think. Yeah, there's a bad guy. So you want your team to guess the words that you have in mind that are your team's colors. And you want your team to not guess the criminal. Because if you guess the criminal, if you identify the criminal wrongly, then you've lost the game. And it should be interesting. You're very limited in what you can say. You can say one word for a category and a number. And what you're saying is, for instance, I might say animals 3. And that means that on the grid, there are 3 cards that to me fit in the category animals. And then my teammates are trying to select which 3 cards do they think I'm thinking of. So it's a kind of a read my mind game, but because you are giving the category, you're giving a hint and the number of cards. But it's very difficult. I find it very difficult to imagine what my teammate might be thinking. And it's not as if I don't play games like that other times. I do. I mean, we love to play Taboo, and we meaning I. And we used to play the game Password. I don't know if you remember that game from years ago. We played it. I played it as a child, as a maybe middle and high school, or junior high and high school is what we used to call it. But this game, I never have really liked it. And it's a shame because it's a game that my gaming group likes. So I play it. We haven't played it in quite a while, though. But I do like Connections on the New York Times. I didn't used to, but my sister-in-law said, Emily, you should do it. It's good for your brain. So I thought, okay, well, she's interested in it. I'll do it to be convivial, and I like it. I like it now. So anyway, those are 5 games that I don't like, and 4 of them I'm probably going to get rid of. If you want any of those games that I just mentioned, not code names, because as I say, I'm probably not allowed to get rid of this one, but any of the other ones, Point Salad, Ingenious, Agricola, and Power Grid, get in touch with me. My email address is in the description field below this video, and we'll make a deal. I promise you that I would give it to you if you would pay for the shipping, frankly. I also have a friend who apparently is knowledgeable about and capable of wheeling and dealing in trading and buying board games, and so I probably should just give these to him and say, at your leisure, sell these, and I want, $5 each or something, and you just go wild and keep the rest of the money for yourself. I could do that. I probably should, because I don't want to keep these games. And you should see my game room. It is a mess because I have too many games. So anyway, yes, weird games I don't like. How could it be? So that is everything for today. I hope you saw something interesting. I hope your stitching is going well. I hope you're making progress on whatever your goals might be, if you are even a goal-oriented stitcher. I love watching Stitchin' Mommy. She's a YouTuber. She puts out a Flosstube every Monday, usually. And she stitches a wide variety of projects. And I don't stitch the same types of things that she does for the most part. But I am fascinated with the way she goes about planning her stitching and how she keeps it in order in her mind. And she has not just a wide variety, but a very large number. And so her videos are always interesting. You always see something different. And in my videos, you always see the same old, same old. Sorry. But I hope that whatever degree of planning you undertake, that you're enjoying yourself. And I hope you have a great week. I will be back next week, I believe. Lord willing, and many blessings to you, friends.